All right, Uncle Four Eyes back here again, and this time I have a little bit of a weirder themed video, so bear with me. I hope it's not going to be very long. It's just kind of one of those little fun little exercises I thought I'd do, just kind of spur of the moment, you know. So, first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to show you some examples of artists who are professional, who've made comics, and yet they aren't perfect. I think as I've gotten older, I've learned that when you are basically just getting comfortable with yourself as an artist, as a creator, you'll feel like, oh, I gotta, everything has to be perfect. Only when it's the right time, and when I execute it in these parameters, bam, my comic book will be a thing. My anything will be a thing, right? Any creative endeavor. And so what I thought I would do was just kind of, just for the spur of the moment, I thought I'd show you just a couple things. I literally just grabbed a couple comics randomly and looked through them long enough to find arguably something that looks like it's off. Or again, bear in mind it might be a printing issue in some cases. Like here we've got Gore Street #1. This might be a feature film or video later, but for right now, I don't know if this was intentional, but there's a lot of space up here when the rest of the book essentially has the proper dimensions throughout, or at least seems like it's consistent with the bigger size, right? But that one page just, for whatever reason, it stands out as being a little on the small side. Like maybe there was something here that got omitted or something, but I thought that was an interesting little thing. Again, moving on randomly to the next one. We've got my man Mike Mignola, where if you can see, he's got a line going outside of his little panel border, and he does it down there. And again, sometimes it's helpful for artists and creators, especially comic book, obviously creators looking at other comics. It's to get a sense of, I guess, confidence, where even the big guys either don't care. Like this might be a confidence in Mignola to be like, I could care less if when I drew out the color out the side lines, sort of thing, right? Also, to keep in mind is he also looks like he's drawing his borders like freehand almost, in a way. I don't know if it really comes off far away, but when you kind of really scrutinize, those lines don't look like, as you just look across, like you can just feel the inconsistency. Now, I have no problem with that. I actually think that's awesome. There's something about the more you feel the hand, the natural drawing in the book, or on, in the story, you just feel like you're again, just feels more cohesive. It just feels raw in a good way. And again, you could almost flip any comic book open these days, and one of two things: either someone went out of their way to make sure they hid almost everything, and like that was their job, or as an editor or something, I don't know, or you have those who don't mind the imperfections, and is like, that's not necessarily their goal. Their goal is to show you a story, to tell you, something, where something like a line like this, in this case, I had imagined that's a design choice, clearly, with the fact that it goes from the black line into the that's on white paper, going into the black with a white line. So clearly that's an intentional choice there. But yeah, as you can just look at lines and stuff, you don't have to rule out your lines perfectly. Almost every comic I feel like I've come across, there's a indication of such. Gonna go back to this again, or switch gears here, where this is about coloring. So Michael Golden, this is an awesome comic, and he's done everything in here. So what I noticed, and this is kind of what spurred me or got me the idea, when you look at the way he color separates, again, this is a 1989 comic, right? When he color separates, it's not perfect. You know, look at where, like, you've got the top band of the Hulk shorts. It's cut very, like, geometrically, not organically, like the line art. The splashes down below in the water, those are like cut out, kind of jaggedy and not like perfect. The mud splatter on his calf, even like that blue kind of gets cut through, and then it even like stands out even more so because it's on black. So it's almost like a tone, a sepia tone, or whatever you want to call those, where you cut it out and adhere it to the picture. But yeah, he did everything himself. So what I was thinking was, I wonder if that's clearly, I don't think that's clearly a stylistic choice. I feel like since this is the whole book, you know, it's a whole comic book. It's not just this is a Marvel Fanfare 47. He had to do the whole book, right? So like, I imagine he had to cut corners or be more. This is a wild book too, like just talking about colors and stuff. Like this one, it could be another revisit. But yeah. Anyways, going back to the fact that he must have had to have just kind of changed gears and go, okay, well, I just got to make this, do this as fast as possible, get this done. If he's going to make it all himself. And I'll come back to this one in just a second. And I got some other random comics I just grabbed. I don't even know if these are going to be worth looking at or not. You know, we got some Kirby here. You know, you could easily flip to something and be like, okay, there's a couple lines down there that are out of the box. I mean, obviously the art itself could be poorly done. That's easy. But it's funny to see like people who are considered pros. I mean, this obviously Kirby's God. But you know, like this is, can't fuck with this. But it's really difficult to be like, he still is human, despite his awesome storytelling. Again, going back to the storytelling, like just the feel of something is so much more important than, oh, I totally just, you know, got a little lazy and went out the line. You know, I find it, again, more liberating as an artist to see that even the pros could do it, or even they don't care. And I've got to the point where I don't care at this point, where, again, I'm gonna shill this out. There's a second part to this in a second. I'll show you, or we'll get to that. But I was really adamant about trying to make sure things looked perfect. You know, each corner and everything, box was cut well. You know, done. You know, now we have computers, so it's easy for me to want to just drag the box tool, you know, the square tool, and whoop, and then I just, you know, you have whatever the brush size is, which I wouldn't be surprised if that's what I did. I thought early on I did this all with a retrograph, whatever, those little pens. This guy by chance, actually, yeah, Rapidograph, excuse me. I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I spent a lot more time, I feel like, exhausting myself over the details, right? Also, we'll get to the next step, which is, or the next part of the video is the center spread. So this is a funny little thing too I wanted to point out. Sometimes it's kind of, I don't know, like emphasized, like when your book lays open flat, when it's stapled, of course. Saddle stitch is what I'm specifically referencing here, not a spine glued or whatever. You want it to open on, like, I don't know, arguably the most interesting page, or at least that's what I thought, or what I've heard. And in my case, this is what it lands on. But what precedes it is kind of what I would have technically liked to have had fallen open, you know, on the center spread. But it just didn't turn out that way. And I felt, oh my gosh, I failed. Granted, also, it doesn't line up perfectly. I failed. You know, I have the original stuff, documents and everything, so of course I can fix it in post for a different iteration. But again, I just want to get this out. Like, I don't want to spend 5 years doing this when I can spend half that or whatever, right? When eventually, once I get all of it done, I can then go into the more lavishly printed and executed books, right? Right now it's just a floppy, right? I want this to be given to you as soon as possible, and and speed is king sometimes with trying to get that going. I'm also working on a print on demand for that comic, but you can easily find it for free online somewhere, I'm sure. I've thrown it around a few places, so if you want to throw money my way at some point, that'd be awesome. But like, look at this, bam! That's not on a center spread. Let's look at what the center spread is. And Kirby's not really known for straying away from the more traditional just box. There's no everything is, yeah. So this is the center spread, which is not too bad actually. You got this nice big piece here, but it doesn't really feel like, I don't know, maybe the flow just doesn't. When it lays down, you're like, oh yeah, that's the ticket. I want to read this. I mean, I probably would still read it because of this. Any Kirby tech will always convince me, but I mean, I don't know if it's just me being obsessed with. I mean, again, story and pacing is key, but when you're making comics, you wonder, should the. And this isn't actually, funny enough. This is, so you flip your page here, and there's a little bit of excitement here. Bam, 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 bam. But then it takes a couple flips before you get to this, a big double page spread. And again, like, you would think that this would fall on, the center spread or something, or maybe ideally, I don't know. Again, I want to know what you guys think about that. And of course, who wouldn't want to put the credits down here as well? I think that's a perfect place to put them for that. And so essentially, I'm going to speed back up again. We're going to go back to this. So this doesn't lay it. This isn't the center spread, but you would think, wow, that's something you want to see when you first open it up, and you go like, look at that. I need to read this. Next flip. This is the center spread. This is where the staple. Basically what I'm saying is where you could see the staples that go all the way through. That's this. Now, I'm not saying this isn't like bad, but there's just something about the design of this, which again, I'm just now realizing. I pulled a Michael Golden and I put one of my big spreads, because I don't think he has any more spreads that. Maybe, yeah, well, that's technically one right there, I guess. That one's a pretty decent one. Like that one sticks. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I mean, again, I've looked at this, but in the moment, I'm trying to remember. Like, there's little standout moments that stick out more, maybe that compete with this as a double page kind of step back and look kind of moment. I don't think there is anything. Oh, there's a little bit of that. That one's kind of I would say like a pseudo, where it's just the panel kind of bleeds into the next page, which is still a pretty cool idea. This one, again, kind of barely just cuts into this is a little panel that leads into a more of a solid panel on that side. But yeah, I would say that, like, I feel like I pulled this kind of move where I wanted to highlight a 2-page spread, and it came before the actual center. Again, I don't know if this is just, I'm just pointing this out. I think I just wanted to, like, get this out of here and, like, see if people have a similar feeling about it. And again, it's like, well, if he, again, if these pros are doing it, then I mean, I must not have to feel too bad about me failing. This one I know is because I can easily flip to it. I know this one is an example that I had to show. Look at that. That is amazing. This, I would say, is the highlight. Not just because it's colored, because that is clearly an intentional thing, right? It's all black and white except for the middle and the outside, right? So this clearly has to be like intentional for it to really have the biggest impact, and it's going to be even more because it's a bigger book. Once again, it's magazine size or whatever. I'm failing to know exactly. Good old English magazine size. But it also, again, it's color inside of what is typically a black and white comic. So I think this is like one of the best examples that I could easily just quickly find, and that I had in the back of my mind after I was looking at it. And again, I don't know if this is worth putting in here. Like, I'm assuming this is the start to the Dredd comic, because before that it was something else. I think, what was it? I don't even know what this is. Oh. Yeah, see, I don't even know what this is. What is this? There's the Nemesis stuff, right? Is it Nemesis? Or whatever they call them? ABC, yeah, that's it. ABC Warriors. But yeah, this clearly must be also what is their, most recognizable character in comic is going to be Dredd. So I would imagine, this is Nemesis. So my bad. Yeah, you kind of feel like you need to, like, I guess, sell the best part of the book, which arguably is this. No offense to the other guys, but like, this isn't nothing to scoff at necessarily. But anyways, thought that was fun, and a little preview of, I think I want to do something along the lines of, like, find as many 1988 comics and do like a series on just that year alone, because I love that time in comic history. So look forward to that. I'm trying to get this video down from the usual hour or hour and a half or whatever. Again, I grabbed this random one of second book of Lobo, and we're going to go straight to see, now this is what I wanted to see. I felt like I needed to find a 90s comic, or at least, yeah, it literally is 1990. This is the kind of things I wanted to find. This, of course, is for something else. This is for the movie. It's a movie advertisement, so it's very gimmicked out. This is actually pretty badass. Like, I could see someone taking this out and putting it in their Predator 2, like, I guess you could put this in your DVD case or whatever of Predator 2. You get a little bit of a extra little bonus inside your DVD collection. Make a little kit bash of your own Predator 2. So yeah, this is the center spread, and this is a prime example of advertisement smack dab in the center of it. Granted, it probably would have been. I imagine they did this too as well, where it's easier to retroactively know that, like, you're going to put something special or something that's a little bit different from the rest of the comic in the center, in the spine. The symmetrically centered of the page. But yeah, I mean, this doesn't look, and see, now it breaks up the flow of the story, and depending on if you don't like, your advertisements doing that, yeah, it just seems like a strange choice, but like, that already fucks with things. But again, it doesn't really ruin an awesome comic. Again, I'm just going to throw some other random things out, because I am just curious. I just grabbed these because I just saw them, and I go, I don't know what the hell this is going to have. James O'Barr's #1, Tasty Bits. Where is, Um, okay, so yeah, this is the center. So I mean, if I wasn't gonna look at anything else, and this is the first thing that fell open naturally, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? Okay, now I need to look into the rest, and then you find out it's just there's nothing of substance, or I don't know. This has got a bunch of different little things. Of course, any of the James O'Barr stuff is going to be obviously worth it. It's probably not the most appropriate thing to have in this video, but it's kind of almost like a sketchbook kind of gallery thing. I like I like James O'Barr stuff, so anytime I can pick up anything that fucking even is remotely got James O'Barr name on it. Again, that doesn't seem like a good example. Here's we have to test a good old Uncle Rob. I guess this is Bloodstrike Brutalists. Oh no, my bad. This is Michel Fife, so he actually probably knows what he's doing. I forgot that he did Brutalists, and I really want to check out this series because I love Cobra, and I will read anything that this man makes. Here's the center spread, apparently. Again. Interesting. I wonder if there was anything that would have jumped out even more so. I don't know. I have more comics than I can actually read, so that's my excuse me, my favorite excuse. You've got stuff like this. That's pretty fun. Of course, the Ed Piskor stuff. Is that Jim Rugg stuff? I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, I just grabbed this because I wanted to make fun of Rob Liefeld. He probably actually would have had a pretty sweet centerfold. You'd have to do this, but anyways, yeah. So Michel Fife is a bit he gets to dodge a bullet on that one, even though that was a great example of I don't know. This is going to be in a different video as well, but I thought I had right on hand. What the hell is in the center? Oh, here it is. Okay, well, again, I guess this wasn't really worth having anything. Again, stylistically, it doesn't mean jack shit what I'm saying, but it is a fascinating kind of like almost like a conspiracy theory or something. I don't know, where they're like a rule of thumb or something, where it's not absolute. Again, story is king, flow and everything. Not everyone's going to be like, oh wow, this is going to sell me on the comic. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting concept to where when you're making your own comic, you look at stupid shit like that, or you get into the minutia, and ultimately you will scrutinize and look at everything that you're making and wondering, am I doing it right? Like, last thing to leave off, when these went to the printers, this got kind of cut off more than I'd like. That barely survived up there. So I'm going to scrutinize the shit out of my own comic. And as much as I like all those people that I just showed you, they do have their weaknesses or their days, right? And we obviously, as a artist, we start early with criticizing and critiquing, but also emulating and like copying stuff, your favorites, artists and whatnot. So I guess in summary, just fucking do it. Like, I don't care if this is like overly good, because one of two things: either you go with your gut and you just kick, lightning in a bottle. Wow, cool. Or you win by 1,000, little paper cuts, right, or whatever the analogy is, where eventually I'll get something right, because I've worked at it so many times, and only when you go through each step will you feel like you've actually maybe got something right at that point. Again, I'm getting in the game a little later. It seems like artists always tend to be better by the time they get towards their elder age, because again, they find that sweet spot where they can make money. And so don't worry about your flaws. Don't worry about your, there's always more, there could always be more comics. You could always make more, and the next, there's always a next time. And yeah, so I have no idea how I'm going to advertise this video. It'll probably be like I don't know, comics anonymous kind of a thing, or I don't know, where we just talk about kind of odd, interesting things that I come across, or I think too much about, and that I would hope that other people who either are really into comics or who make comics themselves really look at with a magnifying glass themselves, and that would also drive them crazy. So I'd love to be able to collectively go mad with you. So I've been Four Eyes, and I'm out.